Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be your genial host for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and dynamic debate. This is Talk with you all the way until 10 o'clock. Get stuck in, get it off your chest, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000. Or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Friday, January the 23rd. Here's what's coming up. In an extraordinary intervention, Army veteran Prince Harry declares war on Donald Trump after the president insisted that British and NATO troops stayed well back from the front line in Afghanistan. As an army man who served there, Harry, along with millions of patriots, is furious over Trump's breathtaking lack of respect for the 457 British heroes who sacrificed their lives fighting alongside the Americans. Altogether, more than 3,600 NATO soldiers died in the first and only time that the Western Alliance was called together to combat a common enemy. And yet Trump seems to believe that the Brits and the NATO troops all steered clear of the danger zone, as if only the Americans were on the front line. Absolute claptrap, absolute nonsense. Did our troops stay clear of the danger zone? Did NATO troops stay clear of the danger zone? Did they? Hell. 3,600 soldiers who were called to Afghanistan essentially by America. Come and help us. We went. And 3,600, more than 3,600 heroes from NATO died. 457 of them British. And he says we didn't go to the front line. Your thoughts? 0344499 1000. Also tonight, another shocking rape by an asylum seeker as the poor put upon people of Crowborough prepare for 540 migrants to move into their tiny Sussex town. And Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood boasts on Twitter that this is just the start. She thinks that moving these migrants, these foreigners, into that army camp in the pretty little East Sussex town of Crowborough is popular. This is just the start. Unbelievable. That's what she tweeted. Coming soon to a barracks near you, folks. An invasion of unknown, mostly male foreigners. Isn't that special? She's going to spray them all over the land. 0344 499 1000. Plus tonight, police cancel a Christian march in London so as not to upset the local Muslim community. Shades of Birmingham, where the local cops there never make a move without first asking the area's Islamic extremists if it's okay with them. What is going on in this country? Let me know. 0344 499 1000. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Friday night together. And you know who's with me. It's my Friday friend for the first hour. In fact, the whole of the 2 hours before we go over to my show, What Just Happened. It's Pete Barnes, political strategist Pete Barnes. How are you?
Hi, Kev. How's it going?
Very well.
Interesting week.
Interesting week. Well, you know, this has just happened in the last hour. You can see from Talk switchboards, our audience, you know, are absolutely furious about what Donald Trump has said. Now, it's been ratcheted up now because Prince Harry has got involved and issued this statement. I'm going to read it out. This is what he released, or this is what he unleashed, if you like, at 8 minutes to 6, so about an hour and 20 minutes ago. This is Prince Harry. This is a statement from Prince Harry, remembering, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube, he is an Afghanistan veteran. He served bravely there. So, you know, it's not often that I want to respect Prince Harry. I don't really respect him, but I do in this arena. You have to. The man was there. He served with our soldiers. He served with American soldiers. So in this respect, Harry must be taken seriously. It's a rare situation, I agree, but we have to take him seriously here. So respect to him. This is what he said in response to Trump's comments. In 2001, NATO invoked Article 5 for the first and only time in history. It meant that every allied nation was obliged to stand with the United States in Afghanistan in pursuit of our shared security. Allies answered that call. I served there. I made lifelong friends there, and I lost friends there. The United Kingdom alone had 457 service personnel killed. Thousands of lives were changed forever. Mothers and fathers buried, sons and daughters. Children were left without a parent. Families are left carrying the cost. Those sacrifices deserve to be spoken about truthfully and with respect, as we all remain united and loyal to the defence of diplomacy and peace. I'm going to say this, good for you, Harry. That is a good statement, isn't it, Pete?
I don't know.
You don't think it is?
I think I respect his service. I think it's very important that we do listen to him. I have a problem with Harry butting his head in on this because it just seems a bit opportunistic, if I'm being honest. Because there is a bigger story here
I don't
than
know.
that.
No, I don't think he served it.
Yes, he did. I respect that.
He lost
what's he
friends
done
there.
after? Yes, again, I
No,
respect
I don't
all
care
of that.
about what he's
But
done.
no,
This
but
is
that's
just
the important aspect of why suddenly he's putting his head into this issue. Where has he been for the last 3 or 4 years on this issue? I know he walked away from the Invictus Games.
Well,
I look at actions and not
second.
necessarily words.
For the last 3 or 4 years, Donald Trump hasn't been going around saying that British and NATO troops didn't go to the front line in Afghanistan.
Yeah, and what Donald Trump has said is incorrect. But there is another element of it.
All
that
Harry is doing is responding to that.
Yeah. But no, why
Yes.
now? No, I'm sorry. I'm
Why
not
now?
no.
Because Donald Trump. Look.
But this is not a new story about veterans. This has been a long-term problem, and yet he's just disappeared from it. Now he sticks his head in because the people hate Trump, so therefore there's a publicity opportunity to it. That's what that is.
Look, come on. Look, why now? Because Donald Trump said that British.
It's not the first time Donald Trump has made an outrageous comment about NATO.
That. He's never said that.
Yes, okay, fair enough.
He
There's
has
that
never
element of
said
it, but
British
no.
and NATO soldiers didn't go to the front line in Afghanistan. He has now.
Yeah.
By the way,
that's also not what he said to Donald Trump. If we're being honest either.
Let's have a listen to what the president had to say. Is that ready, please? Well, we're going to get that ready. It's rather crucial to the story, so we better listen. But that's what Harry is responding to, and you might as well say, why is everyone annoyed? Now,
why is everyone annoyed?
Because, I don't know, maybe wives and children lost their fathers.
We should have been
mothers.
perpetually annoyed about the fact that we've done nothing to help veterans when they come back. This is the point.
Can't we show some respect to these people who've lost their loved ones?
And of course we should. And we show the respect by actually helping the people, not getting outraged because Orange Man is bad. This is what has happened in this story. We should have been doing 10 times more to help our veterans. That's actually helping. Getting annoyed about what Donald Trump has said, which is off the cuff, idiotic and stupid, is not helping the veterans. It's not doing anything. It is noise. And that's my problem with this story, is that we have a huge problem.
Strange attitude.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's what we should be doing because it's actually
weird.
doing so. No, but it's not. It's doing more than just shouting at Donald Trump.
Look, Donald Trump has said something.
Yes.
And a lot of people are very upset, particularly, I would suggest, families who lost their loved ones.
And they're entitled to, again, of course, we should be angry at what he said, but it is more than that.
Well, no,
It's just stopping at the beginning of the story.
Okay. I'm going to give you a lecture now. You're not a journalist, and therefore you don't understand an anatomy of a story, obviously. Here's Donald Trump.
I've always said, will they be there if we ever needed them? And that's really the ultimate test, and I'm not sure of that. I know that we would have been there, or we would be there, but will they be there? And let's hope that that never happens. We've never needed them. We have never really asked anything of them. They'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan or this or that, and they did. They stayed a little off the front lines.
3,600, more than 3,600 died. 457 British people died. I don't think we did stay a little off the front line, did we? That's what that's about. It's because it's
well,
because
that's the difference between off the front line entirely and a little off.
Pete,
well, again, I'm looking at the number. I'm looking at the numbers.
I can't believe I'm having this discussion.
No, I can't believe we're having this discussion because at what point do we suddenly say
so what
that?
do we do? Ignore it?
No, we have to pay attention. But look beyond the words of Donald Trump about the point he's actually trying to make about NATO, and about the fact that Europe has not lived up to its end of the bargain. 64% of NATO funding is done by America. In what world is that a partnership, an allyship?
That's not what this story is about.
No, but it is part of the bigger story about what he's trying to say.
I'm not interested in
because
the bigger story.
Again, then we're just doing Orange Man bad story.
I'm not interested in the bigger story. I'm interested in this story. This story is that Donald Trump, who I am an admirer of, I'm a Trump fan. Everybody knows that. What I think about Trump is he's insulting, he's rude, he's infuriating, he's often inaccurate, but he's effective. And for journalists, he's very entertaining. He's very good copy. So I find him very funny very often. I kind of like Donald Trump, but on this one, I can't like him. That's what this story. It's not a general comment on whether or not NATO are ready for war, or whether they've stepped up to the plate, or whether Europe has.
I think it is.
No,
I think it is.
No,
because
I'm
it's
trying
about
to explain.
No. I get the point you're trying to make, Kev. It's just I think that is focusing on the smallest aspect of the bigger paragraph of sentence.
Everybody, Pete doesn't think this is much of a story.
No, that's not what I said either. That is not what I said either. I said that it's a part of a much bigger story.
No, it isn't.
It really is.
No, it isn't.
It really. Oh my God. You want to talk about? Okay, so I don't think anybody should be holding up war dead as a proof of concept.
457 British heroes died in Afghanistan, and Donald Trump just said they didn't even go to the
and I don't think it's particularly tasteful.
That's the story. End of.
We disagree. Do we disagree?
I'm a journalist. You're not. I'll tell you about the story.
That's the story, not the actual situation.
You can talk about all that other stuff. You can widen it out if you like, but that's not what we're talking about. As I say, I like mostly when Donald Trump chucks a grenade into a crowded room, as they say. He's a disruptor. He likes to say
That's
things.
what he's doing with this,
Well, no, he didn't. I think he was trying to, but he overstepped the line.
Well, that's what you've just said, that he's rude and crude and he's often inaccurate. So that's what he's just done.
Yeah.
And then, but the point is what I'm talking about.
Don't try and widen the story out. I don't want to.
Well,
I don't want to. That's it's my show. We're not going to widen the story.
For my point is, I don't think anybody should hold up war dead.
We're going to talk about this story. We're going to do it journalistically, properly, not like some old parliamentary twonk who wants to widen it out into a massive, great political discussion. That isn't what we're doing. We're talking about Donald Trump disrespecting.
Yes, I completely agree with you on that aspect. I think it's a comment.
Don't widen it out. That's an order. It's my show. It's my show. This is Nigel Farage.
But there was one thing that he did say that I have to take issue with. He said, NATO have never given us anything back. And I will object to that politely by saying this. When the decision was made to go into Afghanistan, we went in with America and a coalition of the willing. We stayed by America for the whole 20 years. We proportionately spent the same money as America. We lost the same number of lives as America, pro rata. And the same applies actually to Denmark and other countries too. So it's not quite fair.
You see, Farage is reflecting my point. Because, Farage is like me and you. You're absolutely right about the wider picture. That's not what this story is about. We can talk about it if you like. What we're talking about, though, is this howler, this offensive howler, this one statement that he's made that I contend disrespects the poor grieving families of the heroes who gave their lives to fight alongside America, not only in Britain but around Europe, the other NATO countries, more than 3,600 of them. That is the story. We can discuss that other stuff. Greg Swenson from the Republican Overseas Organisation is coming in later. We can talk about that then. But I saw Greg last night on Question Time. We'll play a little bit of that later. He too just said this is wrong. Now Trump is wont to get things wrong, and he likes to say things that are going to upset people. He's a disruptor, but. I think probably privately, knowing Donald, you won't get an apology, but he probably realises he has crossed the line. Now, you would accept if Nigel Farage is saying the same as me, you know, I've got a point, haven't I?
Yeah, you definitely do. You definitely do.
Hang on.
But I think
Farage is like that with Donald Trump.
Yeah, also, yeah, but my thing with Nigel Farage is where was he when he should have been here voting? No, but this is the point. It's not just
this is
the
Ed
point.
Davey.
Oh, we can agree with this one.
Trump's comments are appalling and they're insulting to all those British veterans, the soldiers who lost their lives, the soldiers who came back with life-changing injuries, and all their families and friends. But people know I've regularly criticised Donald Trump for so much, and I question his character. But I also question the character of British politicians who've been supporting Donald Trump. Nigel Farage called him the bravest man he'd ever met, a man who's dodged military service 5 times. I think Nigel Farage's character is on the line, along with Donald Trump's.
Well, that's a rare... you know, he's obviously got Nigel Farage wrong on this. So, I mean, I've got to agree with Ed Davey there. That's the first time I've ever...
Oh, God, don't say that.
Actually, I'm going home.
Leave. Is everything okay?
I mean, but this is it. This one statement that he has made that disrespects the 3,600 plus brave NATO soldiers, including 457 Brits who effectively gave their lives for America. This is uniting me, Nigel Farage, Ed Davey, but not you.
No, for me, I think it was done somewhat deliberately for that particular purpose. But you can disagree with me on that. But I think because you don't want to talk about the wider story.
Well, we can later. Later, obviously, I'm not arguing with you. You're absolutely right. Donald Trump has always been right on the money about NATO. That it has come to rely on America. The NATO nations don't spend enough on defence. By a long mile, they don't spend enough on defence, including us. We don't do our bit, and he's right about all that. But this story is about what he said about the people who laid down their lives for America. That's 457 Brits, more than 3,600 NATO soldiers who went to Afghanistan because America asked us to help. We fought alongside them, and now he's saying we didn't even go to the front line. So how did we all die then? Let me know what you think, folks. Never mind our little internecine
We've not argued
here.
in ages.
What do you think? You know, I mean, you know me. I'm a Trump fan. But on this occasion, just like, you know, I'm a Trump fan. I'm nowhere near as much of a Trump fan as Nigel Farage. But on this occasion, you know, we have to slap Trump down. He's gone too far. You know, I'm thinking of 457 families around this country, you know, who are still grieving for their loved ones who died out there fighting for America. That's who I'm thinking about. Am I right? What do you think? 0344 499 1000. We will return to this story later on. By the way, what do you think of Prince Harry's intervention? Again, I don't think. Well, Pete says it's opportunism, bit of publicity, and all that. I'm saying that I think on this occasion, as you know, I ain't no fan of old ginger nuts, but he fought in Afghanistan. He lost friends. He saw what was happening there. And I think on this occasion, I don't think he's looking for publicity. I think he's reflecting the fury of people around this country who have been disrespected. The troops who fought out there, the troops who died out there, who have been disrespected. Do you agree with me about Harry, or do you agree with Pete? Let me know. 0344 499 1000. Later in the show, Greg Swenson, as I say, from the Republican Overseas Organisation, will be in the studio, and we'll pick up this story, get his thoughts. He was on Question Time last night. We'll play his contribution a bit later. But he too, obviously a Republican, American, fan of Trump's, he's just said this is just wrong. He's wrong on this one. So what do you think? What do you think of what Trump said? What do you think of Harry's intervention? And where do we go from here? Let me know. 0344 499 1000. When we come back, we'll go back to the migrant crisis. All roads often lead to the migrant crisis, don't they? This is the story of Crowborough. 27 migrants shipped in under the cover of night, bussed in under the cover of night the other night. More expected soon. 540 unknown male foreigners, they're all men, all young men, will descend, be imposed, will invade the tiny town of Crowborough in East Sussex. Now, as the frightened residents of that town prepare for this invasion, we have one more story of why they're frightened. This is the shocking story of another awful rape by an asylum seeker. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
Local government is something that is already complex enough for people to try and understand. Half of my mates don't even know they're able to vote on May 7th when it comes to it. You know, there's that much complication when it comes to local government. I don't think it will cut through politically and damage them in the way that perhaps, you know, the opposition hope it will. Local government needs a right good reform to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And I say reform in the true meaning of the word there.
I know, don't worry, James. I was about to say local government does need reform. It needs Reform UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There's a good message from Lee and Claire in Buckley. All right, Kev. I like Trump and agree with a lot of things that he says and does. However, I am disgusted about what he said about our armed forces, and he should apologise. And fair play to Prince Harry for speaking out. I'm not a fan of him or the rest of the royal family in general, but in this case he has done more for more than his spineless dad. His silence is almost as bad as Trump's interview. It's got Lee and Claire. But it looks like just one of them have done this. I like Trump, but anyway, they're from Buckley. They're articulating exactly what I think. I don't, I like Trump. I'm no fan of Prince Harry, but I think Prince Harry is right on this one, and I think I think it's a bit unfair to accuse a military veteran who served out there and lost friends of just a spot of opportunism, looking for publicity on this one. We'll return to this story. Please call me up because we're going to have a proper phone-in about this later on, because it is an important story. I don't like to see our heroes disrespected like this. They laid down their lives. There are families out there still grieving. Don't say we didn't go to the front line. Just don't do that. That's wrong. Do you think he should apologise? I mean, it's probably not in Trump, it's a long shot, but should Donald Trump apologise for disrespecting not only the 457 British troops who laid down their lives for America in Afghanistan, but also the more than 3,600 NATO troops who were also there and laid down their lives? Should he apologise for disrespecting them in that way by saying they didn't go to the front line? How did they die then, Don? Let me know. 0344 499 1000. Now, we'll come back to this story later, as I said, but let's talk about the migrant crisis, because the poor put-upon people of Crowborough are preparing for the invasion of 540 migrants. 27 of them, the first of them a couple of nights ago, bust in under the cover of night. Shabana Mahmood, thinking that this is popular. She actually tweeted, actually I've got a tweet here, oh no I haven't, or have I? Yes, I have. This is what she tweeted. The opening of Crowborough military barracks to house more than 500 asylum seekers is just the start. I will bring forward site after site until every asylum hotel is closed and returned to local communities. We are removing the incentives that draw illegal migrants to Britain. Well, first of all, they're not doing that. They're not removing any incentives. Otherwise, we wouldn't still be putting them in hotels. We wouldn't still be giving them £50 a week. We wouldn't still be giving them free doctors, free dentists, free lawyers, free driving lessons, free bloody everything, would we? So they're not removing incentives. The incentives are still there. And secondly, I will bring forward site after site. You know, I hate to tell you, Shabs, but military barracks are in local communities as well. Ask the people of Crowborough. So, you know, you seem to think that just because you're closing hotels, which you're not, by the way, you know, there's still, hundreds of hotels around the country full of migrants. So you're not really closing them. But, you know, in the end, we're not that interested about where you put these people. And as I say, local, the asylum hotels will be closed and returned to local communities. Meanwhile, local communities with army barracks or anywhere near them, as far as Shab's concerned, they can put up with it. This is rubbish. She thinks this is popular. Talk about out of touch. 0344 499 1000. And I'll get your thoughts in a second, Pete, but we need to give an example, an egregious example of why the people of Crowborough and every other local community that is full of migrants that may, according to Shabana Mahmood, have more of them coming in soon. We need to talk about why they are so terrified of this prospect and why the people of Crowborough, for example, have been passionately protesting about this. Massive marches every weekend for months. We're going to talk about the latest shocking rape by a migrant. Yesterday, failed asylum seeker Tret Callender. He's from Trinidad. He was living free at the taxpayer-funded Britannia Hotel in Bournemouth when he raped his terrified victim at her nearby home. He demanded that she pay him respect as he launched his shocking sex attack in the middle of the night when he was drunk to high heaven. So he was totally drunk. He demanded she paid him respect as he raped her. After the drink-fueled assault on June the 14th last year, which was described in court as animalistic, Callender was yesterday sentenced to 7 years in prison. Nowhere near long enough, if you ask me. Throw away the key. He arrived from his native Trinidad and applied for asylum in September 2024 and was refused leave to stay last April. Throughout this process, we have been paying for this rapist's living expenses. This is basically why we all have to worry, as Shabana Mahmood promises us that she's going to spray more and more of these migrants all over the country. This is just the start. Great! Here we go. Analysis by the Centre for Migration has revealed that foreign nationals are 3 times more likely to be arrested for sex crimes than British citizens, and Afghanis in particular are an astonishing 22 times more likely to be convicted of sex offences. So it is arguable, Pete, that we are importing a sex crime epidemic.
Yep. I think it's pretty clear that that's been going on for a while. I mean, how many times do we sit here and we have these stories? It's another one and another one and another one. And we say that something has to be done and we have to be enough. They don't care anymore. They have no control over this issue. And Shabana Mahmood, you know, when people said she was going to be the tough hand, she was going to be the one to turn all of this around, I bet they're rather regretting saying that right now. I mean, you know, Yvette Cooper was ineffective. You know, Shabana Mahmood just seems delusional, which is more of a concern. But, I mean, this particular case, the animalistic nature of it, the demanding of I mean, it's just abhorrent. But the government doesn't care. Realistically, if it did, it would do something, and it doesn't do. So therefore, this is just another one for the statistics, for the spreadsheet to look at and to move on, because that's what this has become to them. It's a spreadsheet exercise.
We are, folks, importing a sex crime epidemic. Bournemouth, in particular, has three very large migrant hotels full of asylum seekers, right in the middle of that once genteel, lovely seaside town, which has now become rather dangerous. Its crime rate has soared, and asylum seekers responsible for sex crimes, sex offences and crimes of violence, the number of them is rising almost by the week. So there you have it. I'll give you one other story of a 26-year-old Afghanistan migrant who came across on a small boat a couple of years ago. It might have been the beginning of last year. He came across. This is just by way of example of what happens, because these guys, they're all young men. By the way, Crowborough camp, 540. Every single one of them, a guy, a bloke, a young man of sexually active age. Isn't that special? So this guy, right, 26 years old, comes across on a small boat, and we immediately billet him in a nice hotel up in Falkirk in Scotland. He goes up to Falkirk, pretty much sort of puts down his case or whatever the hell he had his possessions in, goes out into Falkirk, finds himself a 15-year-old local vulnerable girl. She was vulnerable, 15 years old, underage, takes her behind a pub and viciously rapes her. When he went into court, he got 12 years. And when he was sentenced to 12 years, he went absolutely berserk, shouting and screaming, and his defence was, well, you know, where I come from, you know, I come from a very different culture. We didn't quite realise that you take this sort of thing so seriously. That was his defence. You know, I come from a country where rape's not such a big thing. And that is the problem. We're importing thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of young men from these countries, from these cultures, where women are treated very much as second-class citizens. They don't respect women, they rape them. Not all of them, of course. You know, I don't want to besmirch every single asylum seeker. I don't want to besmirch every single migrant, but too many of them, and alarmingly an increasing proportion of them, just come over here and rape local women. It's not, or sexually assault them. It's disgusting.
I always go back to the Rhiannon Sky White. She was the woman who was stabbed 23 times with a screwdriver. She was there to volunteer to help.
Wolverhampton.
So yes, and that's you know, and I remember the story of this lady's sister telling the daughter that her mother wasn't coming home, and the blood-curdling scream that she let out. That scream should have been heard. Every corridor of Whitehall, every corridor of Whitehall should have heard that scream as a mark of that. This has to stop, because how many more families are torn apart by this crisis? Because it's not just the economics, which is horrific. It is the impact it's actually having on people in these communities. That's why Crowborough is up in arms. It's not been worked with. It's been put upon. And they're just told to put up and shut up. And I think the country has literally had enough of it now. But we've been saying that for a long time. And until we get rid of this government, none of it is going to change.
Yeah, exactly right. And that poor girl, she was working at the Asylum Seeker Hotel. Nice young girl, walking home. One of the migrants living there followed her, stabbed her 22 times with a screwdriver, and was caught on CCTV afterwards, dancing with joy, ecstatic about what he'd just done. Don't forget in Nuneaton, the two 16-year-olds, they said they were 16.
We shouldn't be able to pull any of these stories with memory. That's the bit, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
You remember the two 16-year-old guys from Afghanistan, local asylum seeker hotel, raped a local girl, 15 years old. The stories continue. There are many of them. And that's why the people of Crowborough are so horrified about what the government has done to them. They have not been consulted, they've not been listened to, they've just been subjected to this. These people have been imposed on them. By this time next week, the chances are there'll be 500 in there. The town has 22,000 people. That's a very small town. It does not have the infrastructure to deal with these people. It's got one GP, one copper. You know, they can't. They can't handle this. And they don't want to handle this, and they're worried about their daughters, they're worried about their wives, they're worried about the women, they're worried about safety on the streets, because it is a thing, folks. And Shabana Mahmood says, this is just the start! It's going to be all over the country soon! I mean, how out of touch is she? Let's go to break, because I've got another story, another drum I want to bang about our Home Secretary. A statement that she made that will take your breath away. It makes Kim Jong-un look like the last of the great liberals. It really does. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're going to take some calls on this because our switchboard is jammed about what Donald Trump said. He said that British and NATO troops stayed back from the front line when we were called to help America in Afghanistan. That's not true. More than 3,600 NATO soldiers died, 457 of them British. They were on the front line and they were sacrificing their lives. I like Donald Trump, but on this one I'm going to have to call him out. And I believe that my next caller, one of my favourite callers, a regular caller, is with me on this. Georgina in London. Hi, Georgina. Did you agree with me? I'm a fan of Trump, but not on this.
Well, good evening, first of all, Kevin, and good evening to Pete. I don't agree at all or condone what Mr. Trump said about the sons and daughters of Britain that fought and fell in Afghanistan. He should be heartily ashamed of himself, Kevin, and he should apologise for his statement. But considering that Keir Starmer said he would never forget the sacrifice and the bravery of our veterans, he had a sickening way of showing it. I was absolutely sickened by the hypocrisy of our Prime Minister, standing there and publicly dressing down Trump when he is having our veterans trawled in for war crimes 50 years
That's so
after
disgusting.
the fact.
That is so disgusting.
When veterans, Kevin, who were acting on the orders of the government of the time and carrying those orders out, this Prime Minister is allowing our veterans to sleep on streets whilst he houses illegal migrants in hotels and sneaks them into army barracks in the dead of night because he knows what he's doing is wrong. Keir Starmer is no one to call Donald Trump for disrespecting our brave veterans.
That's my point.
Well, I've got. Well, it isn't your point.
It is.
It isn't your point.
Yeah.
There wasn't that. Well, if that was your point,
But you didn't
Pete,
let me make the point. You told me not to do it.
Yeah, because it was rubbish. Look, let's quickly talk about Greenland, Georgina, while you're on.
Yes.
This is, I'm with Trump in terms of his contempt for these feeble EU leaders, these woke, weak countries that never have stepped up to the plate in terms of military spending, have always left the business of defending the world peace to America. I'm with Trump on all that. And what I think is really unwise of all of these people is about Greenland. They are kidding. They are kidding themselves that, we stood up to Donald and we said you can't have Greenland, and he's a bully and he backed down, and that's because we were so tough.
Absolute cobblers.
Yeah,
Absolute cobblers.
Georgina, he always knew he wasn't going to get Greenland. He didn't back down because of Starmer, because of Merz, because of Macron. He backed down because he knew he was going to. He got the compromise he wanted. And these idiots, Starmer and the gang and Ursula von der Leyen and all that lot, now showboating. Aren't we tough? We showed down Donald Trump. They will rue the day. Yeah. They will rue the day they did this. What they should have done is said, great respect to Mr. Trump. He's seen the sense of compromise, and we're very pleased that has done. Instead, they've got to beat their chest, show off, and say, we stood up to the American bully and we showed him down, and now he's caved in. He won't forget that, will he, Pete?
No, he won't. But you have to remember that he's not caved in because the Danish Prime Minister is now on their way to Greenland to talk about the arrangement. They said not so long ago was not even a conversation. So at what point do they think they've stood up to him? They've just got played like a $2 fiddle. It is absolutely ridiculous for them to stand there and showboat when he got exactly what he wanted. He's gone from this is never going to happen to he's getting what he wanted. You didn't do anything. It is absolutely perverse to watch these people. And my point when it comes to the comment on Trump is I'm not taking lectures from people getting outraged over comments when you have done nothing to actually help the people when they come back. And more important, when we sent them to Afghanistan, they were undertrained and ill-equipped. We didn't help people. And I think that's not right.
I want to go back to this basic point that Georgina and I agree on, and Nigel Farage. It's not about the bigger picture. This is about precisely what he said, which was that British and NATO troops didn't go to the front line.
That's not what he said. He said they pulled back. Not that they didn't go. That's not what he said. He said they didn't go. It's not that they didn't go. He said that they pulled back. That's what he said.
He didn't say that.
Yes, he did. We watched the clip.
He said that. All right.
Not that we didn't go. He never said that bit.
Georgina, I'll tell you what. Stay where you are, Georgina. Can we play Donald Trump again, please? Donald Trump. Can we play him again? That statement. Okay, let's play it again.
I've always said, will they be there if we ever needed them? And that's really the ultimate test. And I'm not sure of that. I know that we would have been there, or we would be there. But will they be there? And let's hope that never happens. We've never needed them. We have never really asked anything of them. They'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan or this or that. And they did. They stayed a little off the front lines.
See?
A little off. It's not they didn't go.
No, you didn't stop. Shape-shifting. He said they didn't go. They stayed a little off the front line.
Yeah.
You were wrong on
not
that.
On that one.
No, Pete, you were wrong.
No.
You said that he said they did go to the front line.
No, he said they stayed a little back.
It's like being in the studio with a stupid little kid. Let's go to break.
It's the president's words, but yeah.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beers, and I feel
raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of its desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Thanks to Georgina, by the way, for
Thank you, sorry,
being a
Georgina.
referee, isn't it? So that's what Donald Trump said. He said that they stayed a little back from the front line. So that's it. He did say that we didn't go to the front line, and that's not true. Otherwise, how did we die? How did all those soldiers die? Now, a little later in the show, it's all going on, folks.
Yeah.
It looks as if it is possible that in another one of his trademark U-turns, you know, the Kylie Minogue of politics of Westminster spinning around again, Keir Starmer might be about to stage a U-turn on the Chagos Islands and not give them to Mauritius. After all, thank God for that, if that is true. Peter Carboyle, our man in Westminster, will be in the studio later on to give us the details on that. But perhaps, just perhaps, don't forget Donald Trump called us giving the strategic Chagos Islands to Mauritius in return for us giving them £30 billion over 20 years. God knows what that's all about. He called that an act of great stupidity, which of course it is. Now it looks as if, finally, Starmer might have changed his mind. He might have been forced to change his mind. So another potential massive U-turn. Let me know what you think about that. I think that would be great news. Great news that Starmer and his human rights lawyer Hermer have been proved to be the idiots that they are on this.
I was going to say, how's that yielding looking?
Exactly right. Exactly
You should never have said that. That's for certain.
Yeah, let me know about that. Get on the phone, but we'll get the details from Peter Carwell later on. 0344 499 1000. And just a quick statement. I want to talk about this police banning a walk with Jesus in a little while because it might offend the Muslim community. What is that all about? Just very quickly, I'm going to read you something that Shabana Mahmood said.
I know we're disagreeing, but you don't have to ruin my day.
She said that when she was Justice Secretary, she said that her ultimate dream for Britain is to achieve, by AI, artificial intelligence, and new technology, a system by which, this is a quote, by which the eyes of the state are on everyone at all times. Yeah. Kim Jong-un, North Korea, eat your heart out. We've got the Labour government. Oh, that's sinister, isn't it?
Do you not remember when
that is a sinister tyranny.
It's sinister. I mean, even
authoritarianism.
President Xi must be going, that's my thing.
Yeah.
I know, it's ridiculous, but I will say that it's the panopticon, probably. Do you know what? We talked about it. So this is what it is. And you know what? It's a very real possibility. And I think this might, come back to the front now that we've dropped digital ID, because they're not going to let this kind of mentality go. This was the thing. They got rid of digital ID. The mentality was still there. And I think that's the bigger problem, is that they just want control. They want to see what you're up to because they don't trust you to do what they want to do. And that's why they're pulling all your rights and everything. It's terrifying, but Shabana Mahmood, I think she's delusional at the best of times, but my thing is, when it comes to this stuff, they're very competent to getting the bad things done.
This is the socialists for you. They're all extreme socialists, these Labour governments, bordering on communism, and they are sort of devoted to the notion of the all-powerful state. If the state runs beautifully, everybody's happy. It's the communist delusion. It's the socialist nonsense. It just isn't true. But that's why they want more and more power for the state, because they think if the state is all-powerful and running like clockwork, then it will be a happy country. Quite the reverse. So let me know what you think about that. She says that her ultimate dream is that AI and new technology will bring about a system in Britain by which the eyes of the state, this is what she said, the eyes of the state are on everyone at all times. Do you like that? Would you like that? 03444991000. Very quickly now, let's talk about another example of this kind of weird sort of veneration or subjugation to the Muslim community. You know, good luck to the Muslims. You know, I'm all for them living here, but you know, there should be integration. This is what's happened. There's a march due to take place on January the 31st in Whitechapel in East London. It's a Christian march. It's you know, only fair to say it's organised by UKIP. But it's called A Walk with Jesus. Scotland Yard has banned it, that's the Metropolitan Police, has banned this march over fears of provoking and upsetting the local Muslim community. Police officials said permitting the event in that location would be reckless given the potential for violence. Social media advertisements promoting this gathering as a Christian march, inviting participants to worship Jesus Christ during January, which organisers described as the month dedicated to the holy name of Jesus. I didn't even know that, but there you are. Anyway, a Christian march, admittedly organised by UKIP, wanted to go through Whitechapel, very Muslim area of East London. The police have banned it for fears of upsetting and provoking the local Muslim community. Maccabi Tel Aviv playing Aston Villa, anyone? The fans, Jewish fans, being banned from Birmingham by that loathsome little moron Craig Guilford, the now ex-West Midlands Police Chief Constable, who banned Jewish fans because he was terrified of upsetting the local Muslim community. Same deal. What's going on, Pete?
Oh, it is. What this is actually the police admitting that they do not have control of these areas, that they cannot police London safely and properly. We have a huge integration problem because why is it in certain communities? Because they go on in the statement to say that if they had it somewhere else, it would go ahead. So what is it about that area? Well, we all know it's a very heavily Muslim area, and they're actually admitting that it is a violent place to go. They say that they're provoked, that they would be provoked by people wandering through with signs. If it was the other way around, we all know that it would go ahead because it's even one happening. The Palestine Coalition is marching the same day, and yet that's not cancelled.
Deputy Assistant Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, James Harman, said the decision rested solely on public safety concerns, not political consideration. He said, it would be reckless to allow an event to go ahead when we understand there's a risk of serious violence to members of the community and to our officers. We are not doing so on the grounds of politics. We are not even doing so on the grounds of whether people will be offended or not by their presence. We are doing so solely on our risk assessment for disorder. That's exactly what Craig Guilford said. Now, I say this is a public, these are public thoroughfares. We have the right to demonstrate and protest. This isn't a protest, it's a march. And it's the police's job to enshrine that right, not to say, oh my God, the Muslims might get violent.
Yeah, and
that's what he's saying, that these people might be attacked by Muslims, or that they're, you know, it's going to cause friction, it's going to upset the Muslims. Well, it's the police's job to enshrine these marchers' right to march through Whitechapel, and yet what do? They fold in to the Muslims. The Muslims are going to be upset. This is ridiculous.
And their argument doesn't make any sense, because if say they're going to be provoked and there could be violence, but they're not doing it because people might get upset. Well, they're getting. Why? How do they think one leads to the other? It doesn't make any sense. And the fact they have to come out and say it's not because of politics, it does. I mean, it says that it clearly is.
Harman goes on to say, we reasonably believe that there would be a hostile local reaction to their presence, which many may perceive as provocative and a consequent risk of violence and disorder. As the police, we just can't allow that to happen. So what he's saying is, if we allow these Christians, UKIP Christians, to march through Whitechapel, the local Muslim community will attack them.
Yeah.
And therefore, we're going to take away these people's right to march through Whitechapel celebrating Jesus because the local Muslims will attack them. What they should be doing is telling the local Muslims, you even think about that, we'll arrest you. And if you do it, we'll arrest you and bang you up for a long time. That's what policing is. You have to enshrine people's rights, not go, oh my God, these Muslim thugs will attack the Christians. Let's ban that march. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's the exact same thing that, like you said, that happened in Birmingham, where they banned the Jewish fans from coming because of the threat of the violence.
It's
exactly the same story, and this is why that is not a one-off. It is in every bit of the police force throughout the country because it is the mentality of the top of the police.
Yeah, that's what Craig Guilford said.
It's exactly the same thing.
Home Affairs Select Committee, the emergency meeting a couple of weeks ago. He suddenly revealed, well, one of the reasons that I banned Jewish football fans coming to Birmingham was because the local Muslim extremists told me they would take up arms and there'd be a war on the streets, at which point I said, well, as a policeman, you should arrest them for that. That's a threat of violence. You're not allowed to do that. Instead, you go, oh, sorry, I'll ban the Jews. Well, you know, this is the same thing. Sorry, I don't want to upset you. Oh, you'll get violent. Oh, we'll ban the Christians. I mean, what is going on here? I mean, let's be fair. It's UKIP. There's a provocative element to this. You know, you can't get away from that.
They've picked an area.
But they have a right to do this. This is a legal right. They applied for this march legally, and they've been banned as Christians because the police fear that the local Muslims will attack them. Well, they should be stopping the Muslims attacking them and allowing the march. Otherwise, you are trampling on the basic right of British citizens to march and protest and demonstrate. Right, Pete?
100% correct. And I mean...
See, we can agree.
We can agree. I mean, yeah, but I mean, if you don't agree with this, then you were just objectively incorrect, because the police's job is without fear or favour. There is very clear a fear and a favour going on here.
Extraordinary. Well, let me know what you think about this. I think that is...
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting. We've got to stop this. Muslims say, oh, we're going to attack these people if they come into our town. The police go, OK, fair enough, we'll ban them. No! Stop doing this! Stop it! What's wrong with you? They never learn.
They
obviously, old James Harman, the Deputy Assistant Commissioner of the Police here in London, obviously didn't follow the Craig Guilford story, did he? Craig Guilford, of course, forced to retire in disgrace, liar, who kowtowed to the local Muslim community and banned Jews from Birmingham, for which he should forever hang his head in shame. What a disgrace. After the news, Greg Swenson will join us. More on Donald Trump, so stick around.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, we all like TV stars, don't we? Let's have a little look at last night's BBC Question Time. Take it away.
It's not a mistake. It's so much more than a mistake. It's an absolute insult. It's an insult to 457 families who lost someone in Afghanistan. How dare he say we weren't on the front line? How dare he? We have always been there. Whenever the Americans have wanted us, we have always been there. How dare this man, who's never seen any action, who somehow or other, when there was a draft for everybody else in the United States, managed to avoid it, and yet now is commander-in-chief and knows nothing.
Give that woman an Oscar. Did you see the guy next to her?
Yeah.
Did you see that guy next to her? He's only in the studio. It's Greg Swenson. Hello, Greg.
Great to be here, Kevin.
Greg, of course, chairman of the British Republican Overseas Organisation here in London. Spends his life flitting between both sides of the Atlantic at the moment, but was on Question Time last night. And, of course, the hot topic at the launch of the show, the top of the show there, that was literally soon after the show had begun. It was in Macclesfield. Where is that?
Near Manchester.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I didn't know until last night.
I did kind of know that. I was just being a provocative southerner.
It worked. As an older man, it worked.
I know where Macclesfield is, folks.
It was way north. It was freezing up there.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. Yeah. It's a very different place. It's very cold up there. It's Arctic conditions. No, seriously. So the question on the table was revolving around Donald Trump's statement that the British troops and the NATO troops who were called to Afghanistan to help America in their war against Afghanistan, he said they didn't quite go to the front line, they stayed back a little bit. And that you said, Greg, you said that's wrong. You said that's wrong. Now, the thing about that statement, right? You know what Donald Trump, as you quite rightly say, his idea of diplomacy is lobbing a grenade into a crowded room. He's a disruptor. He deliberately says things that upset people. He deliberately says things to provoke people. I doubt if we'll get an apology from him over this, because that's not in the nature of the man. But I think quietly he will know that this time he went a little bit too far. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. But I think a little clarity is necessary. I was fed the line right before we went on last night, and I thought it was a mistake, and I was honest about it. It was a mistake to make that statement. Yeah. However, when I heard the actual quote this morning, I was on another show.
Oh no, he's going to back you up now. We've been arguing about this.
I'm on at 6 a.m. this morning, on 5 hours sleep, and they played the actual interview that he did with Fox, and I had not heard it yet. All I'd heard is what BBC told me he said, and then I see what he actually said, and he said they. And I think there has to be. I mean, he clearly didn't say the British.
No,
or the United Kingdom.
I think he meant NATO.
And then everyone's going, like Emily's going crazy on 457 families and all. He didn't say the British.
And if you're watching Emily, by the way, you do win my Actress of the Year Oscar.
I mean, that was
such a performance.
It was performative.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Totally performative and probably rehearsed. Now, I had a great train ride home with Emily, and I think she's really nice. So if you are watching, which she's not,
she's famously good fun. Away from the bear pit of politics.
It was theater last night. And that virtue signaling was really amazing, and I get it. And by the way, I still think it was a mistake.
It was.
Denmark, played above the rim in Iraq and Afghanistan specifically. But the question was about NATO, and I don't know what the stats are, but they're very well might have been.
400. I mean, when we talk about the British soldiers who died there,
we know
it's they are part of the more than 3,600 NATO soldiers who died there. The number of United Kingdom forces, men and women who died there, were 457. The point is, Greg, me and Pete have been having a bit of a barney about it.
The UN might be needed in here.
you know me. I'm a Trump fan. You know, he's eccentric, but he's excellent entertainment value. And I think this is the story. I said this before. You know, he's rude. He's insulting. He's infuriating. He's often inaccurate. But he's effective. And for journalists, he's the best copy we've ever had. So don't get me wrong, you know, on all those bases, and I like his basic politics as well. So I'm a fan of Donald Trump. I just think to say something like that, you have to think about all the families who are still grieving for their loved ones, who laid down their lives helping America in Afghanistan. He got that wrong.
And when I say it was a mistake, it clearly was. But it wasn't as bad as I thought when I first heard
I would agree with that.
Because I thought he was talking about the UK when I was on that set last night, and he wasn't. No. And I don't, even President Trump wouldn't make that mistake. He knows very well about the UK and the partnership that we have. And even if there were soldiers from Spain and France and Germany that were not on the front lines, they were, you know, behind the scene, and maybe there was some accuracy to his statement. I don't know that, I'm just speculating. But even that was
3,600. That's a lot on the front line.
And even if there was 3,600 not on the front line, back doing logistics or whatever, they're still serving their countries. They're still taking risks.
Of course, there's a lot of Americans not on the front line.
Absolutely. Exactly. And so, look, it was a mistake, but I think they took it a little too crazy.
I mean, this is the tenor of all the messages and calls we're getting, and that is exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm a fan. They're all saying fan of Trump, but
it was a mistake.
But this was a mistake. He stepped. I think that in private he'll be going, oh damn, I think I went a bit too far.
As I said yesterday, unfiltered is really great.
Yeah, he's unfiltered.
Unfiltered is great until it's not.
Let me get you. I don't know if you've caught up with this, but Prince Harry, again, Pete and I have disagreed on this. Pete thinks he's an opportunist looking for a bit of publicity, but I think you have to respect him. He serves in Afghanistan.
Totally.
What do you think of his statement? I'm going to read it out to you.
Please do.
In 2001, NATO invoked Article 5 for the first and only time in history. It meant that every allied nation was obliged to stand with the United States in Afghanistan. In pursuit of our shared security, allies answered the call. I served there. I made lifelong friends there. I lost friends there. The United Kingdom alone had 457 service personnel killed. Thousands of lives were changed forever. Mothers and fathers buried sons and daughters. Children were left without a parent. Families are left carrying the cost. Those sacrifices deserve to be spoken about truthfully and with respect, as we all remain united and loyal to the defence of diplomacy and peace. Now, I think that is a statement we should respect.
It's totally believable and right and correct. Is it opportunistic? Of course it is. But, you know, there's...
You cynics, honestly.
But yeah, I mean, I guess, you know...
But look, okay, all right. But again, there's an element of that. But look, this guy was there. He did lose friends.
Of course.
If
anybody has you know, the right to make that kind of statement, it's Prince Harry and anybody else who served.
Exactly. We're going to speak to Simon Diggins later, who was also there. So the people who were there and who lost friends and who lost lovers, and indeed the families, not only in Britain but around the NATO countries, still grieving for their lost loved ones. But you have to respect their fury.
Of course. But again, he wasn't talking about the UK, and that's careless of him to kind of lump NATO countries together and not be clear that there were several countries that served alongside the U.S. and made such great sacrifices. So I get it. I totally get it. But I do think there's some clarity there. And when I heard the quote this morning, I was surprised. Because if you based your assumptions on what happened last night on the BBC and Emily, you would think he said the British, and he didn't.
Yeah, okay. I mean, My thought would be, though, if he's talking about NATO, he's including the 457 Brits who died there.
Yeah.
So that's why people in Britain are upset. I'm sure around NATO countries they're equally upset. I think ironically, Pete is probably the least fanboyish about Donald Trump in the room. But you and I are fans of his.
Of course.
On this occasion, I'm going to have to call him out. I really am. I
wish
can't,
it didn't happen.
I can't let that go. And I think, as I say, Trump in private, he'll be going, man, wish I didn't say that. But let's just just go back to this week in Davos, which, as I said, one of the reasons.
I thought we all just breathed in then.
I know. It ended on a bad note, and it's such a shame because it was such a great.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about
That's
Davos.
a good point.
By the way, let me read a couple of statements. Here's a good one that you'll both like. Becca's saying Trump never mentioned Britain for F's sake. Here's one though. This is Pat. I was listening to Trump and I've come to the conclusion he's a loud big mouth who spreads misinformation. Where was Trump during the Vietnam incident, hiding behind his mother's skirt, etc., etc.? He's a loudmouth. I don't think he deliberately spreads misinformation. We were saying earlier, this is Trump. We go, what a mistake we made after the Second World War. We should never have given Greenland back. You didn't have it. So, assimilating correct historical facts it's not his forte.
Yeah, and so he doesn't really do detail. But we did have it. We had occupied it and protected it and basically had it. It depends what the definition of had is. I sound like Bill Clinton now.
Well, what happened after the Second World War? That America was called in to, shall we say, supervise Greenland because Greenland was lost and on its own at the time. Denmark unable to supervise it. But it wasn't an American territory.
No, it was surely not a colony.
But he thought it was.
The U.S. did occupy.
I mean,
since 1939.
Well, you know what I think. You know what I think. Don't buy Greenland, Donald. Buy Britain. Next time you want to...
It's the 10th time I've heard that this week.
Next time you want to kidnap a president, don't go to Venezuela. Come to London and get our Prime Minister. I'm all for that.
I'm not sure the rate of return, if I'm being honest.
Here you go, Paul. You like this one? I agree with Pete. There is a wider issue for debate: the hypocrisy of Keir Starmer, NI troubles bill. We will talk about that because you're right, Pete. I mean, in the wider picture, I was just saying I wanted to focus on this story earlier. The wider picture is NATO does deserve to be called out. I mean, they stepped up to the plate in Afghanistan, but no NATO country spends anywhere near what they're supposed to on defence. There is still this culture of leave it to America. Donald Trump's doing a lot to destroy that, and I think that's a good thing. Why should America defend all of us? And so on and so forth. But shall we talk about Davos? Have we got Donald Trump talking about Europe and unrecognisable? Have we got that? Let's play that.
Certain places in Europe are not even recognizable, frankly, anymore. They're not recognizable. And we can argue about it, but there's no argument. Friends come back from different places. I don't want to insult anybody and say I don't recognize it. And that's not in a positive way. That's in a very negative way. And I love Europe, and I want to see Europe go good, but it's not heading in the right direction.
Dankeschön, Herr Trump. Here's the next quote.
We fought for Denmark. We weren't fighting for anyone else. We were fighting to save it for Denmark. Big, beautiful piece of ice. It's hard to call it land. It's a big piece of ice. But we saved Greenland and successfully prevented our enemies from gaining a foothold in our hemisphere. So we did it for ourselves also. And then after the war, which we won it big. Without us, right now you'd all be speaking German and a little Japanese, perhaps. After the war, we gave Greenland back to Denmark. How stupid were we to do that? But we did it.
Dankeschön, Herr Trump, as I say. I can't say it in Japanese, but there you are. That's Trump for you.
Yeah.
He's winding us
That's
up
the
there,
good Trump.
and he's inaccurate about Greenland and Denmark. But I don't mind that sort of thing. If it wasn't for us, you'd all be speaking German.
Yeah.
We won the war.
The funniest thing about
that's
that
okay.
is-
That's okay. That's Trump.
Yeah.
It's annoying. It's irritating. He means it to be annoying and irritating.
Exactly.
But disrespecting those who laid down their lives for America in Afghanistan, that crosses the line. But of course, he did, in the end, I think, get what he wanted with Greenland. He's going to build a big golden dome. Watch this.
All we want from Denmark for national and international security and to keep our very energetic and dangerous potential enemies at bay is this land on which we're going to build the greatest golden dome ever built. We're building a golden dome that's going to, just by its very nature, going to be defending Canada. Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
Brilliant. This is. I mean, he was on great form. I mean, he began his speech having a go at the European countries, Britain including, of course, for our crazy immigration policies. That's why he doesn't recognise it. Doesn't recognise parts of Europe is unrecognisable. That's what he's talking about. We are with him all the way. Yeah. Our mad net zero energy policies, which he quite rightly says, we are destroying our own economies for no reason at all apart from worshipping at the altar of green claptrap. We're not investing in the resources we've got. We've got some of the biggest reserves of gas in the entire world in the North Sea, and we've shut down exploration and drilling there because it's not green. He's exactly right. And then he rambled on for about another hour talking about some friend who couldn't get a mortgage and things like that. Yeah. So he was on classic Trump form. And I think maybe at the end of that, he was having such a good time that he thought we'd never go at NATO, and that's when he stepped over the line.
Yeah, and I think that was when he was boarding Air Force One late yesterday.
Yeah,
so,
that's right. Yeah,
again, it was a mistake, but he was on form in that speech, and everything he says is A, true, and B, what everyone else is thinking. So when I say true, maybe not on the details or something, but basically his thoughts were absolutely accurate.
Yeah. There's another message here from him. We're going to go to break in just a second, but I understand this, but I'm not quite sure it's hitting the spot for me. This is Elaine. Respect to Elaine, by the way. Everybody's entitled to their opinion on this. Trump talks rubbish a lot of the time, but the faux outrage of his comments are at the height of hypocrisy when the UK government treat our veterans like crap and are desperate to prosecute them. And so, so I absolutely get that. I absolutely get that. And this isn't about, for me, I don't care that Keir Starmer and Merz and Macron all showboated about this. It's not their fury that I respect or care about. I don't care that Keir Starmer, no, you can't disrespect our soldiers. I don't care what Keir Starmer says, but I do care what the families of people who lost their lives are. But I care what the veterans say. We're going to talk to one later on. I even, for once in his useless life, I care what Prince Harry said because he was there. I totally agree. Never mind. I have an utter contempt for the showboating of Keir Starmer and all the other European leaders who somehow aren't we tough?
No.
We're going to talk about. We'll talk about those idiots and what they said about Greenland after the break. So stick around.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Seats, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beers, and I feel
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of its desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, still with Pete Barnes and Greg Swenson. Just a lot of debate about what Keir Starmer said, what Macron said, all these leaders. Couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't care less what they said. But I do care what the families of the veterans who died, or the soldiers who died there, think, and I do care what the veterans who fought there think. So let's talk about this showboating. The stupidity of Keir Starmer, Macron, Ursula von der Leyen, all these Euro leaders who, after the Greenland saga, are sort of beating their chests and saying, we faced down the world's bully and he backed down, he buckled, ha ha ha, we beat you. You idiots, you absolute idiots. He will remember that. He did not back down on Greenland because Ursula von der Leyen, Emmanuel Macron and Keir Starmer said you can't have it. He backed down on Greenland because he always knew he was going to. He didn't think anybody was going to say, oh, you want Greenland? Oh, well, you can have it. Oh, okay, you can pay us a few bucks for it. You know, he knew that. He just, as he always does, he chanced his luck, chanced his arm, tried his luck, see what he could get, and then compromised. He was always going to be that. Now these, so he's going to get military bases on Greenland. He's going to be able to build his Golden Dome defence system. He's got everything he wanted, and these idiots are acting as if they forced him to do that. They didn't, did they?
It was the 34 troops they sent to Greece.
That was it. Count them. Not 34,000, 34. Not 3,400, 34.
It was so performative, and they should know better, because they should know that this is how President Trump negotiates. And secondly, the United States cannot buy Greenland. Because if the $750 billion number that was floated around is way too much on our debt of $39 trillion, but also the House would have to appropriate the money, which they won't, and the Senate would have to approve it with a 67% vote supermajority. It's never going to happen. It's not even remotely possible. Even for a pound, if he bought it for a pound, that would be a challenge with the Senate.
Which makes it more annoying when they kind of jumped on it as though it was like he was going for it. In all honesty, I think that's what annoyed me the most about it. Was you also know he's not going to get it. You know what he's doing, but you're playing the outrage card because Orange Man bad, and it's annoying.
A bit more than that, it's showing off to their electorate.
Oh yeah.
It's like I'm tough. I faced down Donald Trump and I won. We all won. We faced down the big bully and he buckled. You know, it's a pathetic thing to do, because that's not the truth. He didn't buckle because of anything Keir Starmer or Macron or Merz said, or Ursula von der Leyen. Didn't buckle, but they're the crap under his shoes. He couldn't care less about them. He thinks they're woke and weak, and he's right. Keir Starmer, to go back to his disrespect to our veterans. This was one day after the Labour government forced through, went to all the trouble of forcing through an amendment to what they call the Troubles Bill to remove immunity from veteran soldiers who were stationed there doing their duty during the Northern Ireland Troubles half a century ago, back in the 1970s. These poor old men now are knocking on 80 years old, and this Labour government went to the trouble of removing that amendment so they can now all be prosecuted. And the Northern Ireland Secretary, Hilary Benn, said, this government believes in the rule of law. The armed forces should not be exempted. What? They went to the trouble of doing that. And he's saying, oh, Donald Trump disrespects our veteran. Well, the Labour government disrespect our veterans a lot worse than Donald Trump.
Right, because Donald Trump would never do that.
Of course
and
not.
So they do all this.
What other government in the world would do that?
No, and they you know, and we can talk about the Chagos Islands too, but you know, this performative virtue signaling and complaining about what the president says, and sometimes says, you know, in some exaggerated form, or uses hyperbole, unfortunate at times. But look at what he does.
That's what I said. This guy, he exaggerates, he gets things wrong, he can be insulting, he can be rude, he can be infuriating, but he's nearly always very effective. And my God, would we like a leader like Trump in this country? You know, let me know what you think about that. 0344 499 1000. Greg, we're going to say goodbye to you now. Stick around because I'm going to buy you a drink after the show.
Shocking. Absolutely shocking.
You like just the one?
Yeah, but only one. I haven't got much money. I've just paid my taxes. So thank you very much, Greg Swenson.
Good to see you.
And we'll see you in a little while.
Great to be here.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, all going on tonight, just as we thought most of the show would be revolving around Donald Trump's comments about the NATO soldiers and the British soldiers who died in Afghanistan. Something else broke pretty big. You know this government, you know our Prime Minister spinning around. My next guest actually coined rather a good phrase for him, that Keir Starmer is the Kylie Minogue of politics because he spins around all the time. He could be set to make yet another massive U-turn, and this is a good one. He might actually now not give away the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. We're all praying that is true. Peter Cardwell, our man in Westminster and of course fellow presenter, is in the studio. Pete, I'm going to come to you in just a second because I've got to plug my show first. It's much more important than you. This is Plank of the Week, available now on YouTube. Have a look. Oh, there you are. Welcome to another extraordinary edition of Plank of the Week, and I've got an extraordinary panel for you. The excellent Chloe Dobbs, the effervescent Steve N. Allen, the remarkable Candice Holdsworth, and returning hero Ben Habib. So let's get going, shall we? Humdinger of an episode. Find out who is this plank of the week out of a lot of very strong contenders. There always are strong contenders for plank of the week. So many planks around. That is on YouTube right now. Have a look if you like. Actually, you could leave it half an hour before. Don't go away from this show. As I was saying, Peter Cardwell very kindly has come into the studio because he's got the gen on this. What is looking like might be an extraordinary U-turn on the Chagos Islands, the strategic islands in the middle of the Indian Ocean, that for reasons that escape all of us, our Prime Minister and that cretinous Attorney General Richard Hermer have been desperate to give away to China's best friend Mauritius, all for the price of minus £30 billion. We have to give that to them in order to give them their islands. Nobody can understand this deal, but Peter, they might be
well, they might be pulling the bill on, well, it looks as if they are pulling the bill on Monday. So it's gone through the House of Commons. In the House of Lords, where Labour doesn't have a majority, Conservative Lords are saying, hold on a second, there's a 1966 deal with America talking about the sovereignty of these islands, saying that they have to be consulted and there has to be negotiation around that. That negotiation hasn't finished. Ooh. So this is a major, major kink in the armour. It's interesting.
Well, hasn't happened, has it? We haven't really talked to the Americans.
Well, and the interesting thing is that previously Donald Trump seemed to think this was all right.
Didn't really care, did he?
Didn't really care. This week, of course, he says it's an act of great stupidity. Yeah. So if you look at the statement the government's put out, it tells you everything you need to know. A government spokesman said, the government remains fully committed to the deal to secure the joint UK-US base on Diego Garcia, one of the Chagos Islands, which is vital for our national security. This is irresponsible and reckless behaviour by members of the House of Lords, whose role is to check legislation, not interfere with national security priorities. So it looks as if this wrecking amendment put in by the Conservatives means that the government may well pull this bill. There'll be at least a delay. If not, and if they go back to the Americans and say, hold on, we need to sort out this negotiation, well, with Donald Trump's comments, as they have been this week, where will they be in that process?
My theory about this is that when the proposal was first aired to Trump months ago, that he just couldn't be bothered with it. I don't think he was across the details, never really thought about it. Only this week, as the deal is about to be sealed, or perhaps not now, did it occur to him that this is an act of great stupidity.
And he's still not across all of the details, because he said, well, you know, maybe they need money, is what he said. Well, actually, we're giving away £100 million a year for the privilege of giving away our territory.
Do you know we're giving them Mauritians so much money that they've been let off income tax forever? Mauritians don't have to pay income tax because we, the suckers in Britain, are going to pay it for them. But you know what's interesting about this, Pete, is that Peter too.
Confused you. Yes, confused you.
Peter C.
I'm like back to the future.
Yeah, I've got two. I'm in a Pete sandwich here, two Pete's.
Disturbing image.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. So,
let's move on.
I rescind that. No, seriously, this could be very interesting, because if the laws are pointing out that a point of law has been overlooked,
and international,
they are hitting Starmer.
An international negotiation here. So this 1966 deal. Let me just get a bit more information about this from my notes here. I mean, this is the Lords saying that if the bill will proceed in the coming weeks, Labour says it has to now ask for support from crossbench peers, the Liberal Democrats as well. Dame Priti Patel, the Shadow Foreign Secretary for the Conservatives, saying it would be a major victory for everyone standing against Keir Starmer's disgraceful Chagos surrender, as she puts it. But this 1966 deal, that hasn't been properly considered, the negotiation hasn't been finished with the United States. It'll be fascinating to see what happens.
But I was about to say, that what I like about, or what is intriguing about this, is if you want to get Keir Starmer and Richard Hermer, those two obsessive human rights lawyers, those
rule of law,
they're obsessed with international law. As Richard Littlejohn of the Daily Mail always says about Keir Starmer, the thing about Keir Starmer is he is a complete and utter lawyer. But seriously, if you want to hit them where it hurts, you tell them this may breach international law.
You're talking about an international treaty that goes back over 50 years.
International law, in other words.
Yeah, so actually, if the Americans don't agree with this, it could violate this treaty with the US that enshrines British sovereignty over the Chagos Islands. So there's a lot to this. It'll be fascinating to see where it goes, especially if the Americans say no, which, given everything we've heard from Donald Trump this week and the many other problems over Greenland, the military that we've talked about as well, Afghanistan, relations between the US and UK are pretty low. And interestingly for Starmer, who's tried to be Mr. Tough Guy, well actually, if he wants a Chagos deal, he may need to bring things down a few notches and go almost cap in hand to Donald Trump and say, rescue me here and get my Chagos deal through.
Yeah, and, but that said, Donald Trump, given what he said a couple of days ago about the act of great stupidity, displaying great weakness by the British, he's almost obligated to say, now that you've obeyed this treaty from 1966. That's when we won the World Cup, wasn't it? So quite a year. It was all going on, wasn't it? After what he said about this, he'll be obligated to say, well, now that you've consulted me according to this treaty, I have to tell you that America does not approve.
Well, exactly, and especially, as you say, if he's Mr. International Law, well, a treaty between two nations is a form of international law, so there we are. It'll be fascinating to see what happens. And, you've got U-turn probably coming, almost certainly coming on pubs. You've got another U-turn coming on, I can't even remember, I've lost track of juries. I've lost track of what it's all about. 14, this could be another one. This could be number 16.
Well, we're also on the edge. So it was 13, wasn't it? Major U-turns, and then it looks as if they might be doing a U-turn on scrapping trial by jury as well. So that'll be 14, and the Chagos, that'll be 15.
And pubs,
it's like the countdown clock, isn't it?
Pubs will be 16, yeah. Exactly.
It's unbelievable. What do you think about that, folks? Are there any Mauritians out there? What do you think about the fact you're now going to have to carry on paying income tax? 0344 499 1000. Serves you right as far as I'm concerned. Peter, thanks very much for that. Fantastic stuff. Peter Cardwell there, our man in Westminster. Of course, also one of my colleague presenters here. You're on at 10 a.m. tomorrow, right?
I am indeed, between 10 and half 12.
Peter Cardwell tomorrow, 10 a.m. and I'm sure he'll pick up the baton on this story. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks,
we're going to break now. We'll come back. We'll take some of your calls and then we're going to talk to a real-life Afghanistan veteran to see what he thinks about what Donald Trump said about our boys and NATO boys and girls in Afghanistan. That next. Stay tuned. Welcome to the very first Plank of the Week of 2026, a very special show, and that requires a very special panel.
Keir Starmer, a man who has achieved the remarkable feat of being both dull and dangerous in equal measure.
We know when Keir Starmer gives his full confidence in someone that is the kiss of death. That was the case with Peter Mandelson and Angela Rayner, and now he's given full confidence in himself, saying, I will be here till 2027.
Don't miss Plank of the Week with me, Kevin O'Sullivan, on Talk every weekend.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, still with Pete Barnes. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan. This is the Political Asylum, but at 9 o'clock in about 25 minutes' time after the news, it is my TV show, What Just Happened. That'll go on from 9 until 10. If you are listening on the radio and not watching on YouTube, it's very radio friendly, but I advise you to go onto YouTube because then you can see just how handsome I really am, or not, as the case may be. Here's a clip. Our woke NHS, our woke health service, is demanding that all the midwives support first cousin marriages because they think to not support it would be Islamophobic, would offend the Muslim community.
It's like the NHS saying, actually, it's all right to smoke because, you know...
100%, you stole the words out of my mouth.
It's like ridiculous
100%.
medical advice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's okay to smoke, drink, take drugs or whatever your vice is when you're pregnant, but it's you know...
Yeah, that's a great
But we're going to get behind...
analogy.
It's actually probably more dangerous than smoking, or I don't know if that's a fact, but it might be more dangerous.
It's not illegal, which is fine, but we don't have to get behind and encourage it.
That's my guest, my panel, Flash Ash Gould, and dazzling debutante. The first time she's been on the show, that's Vanessa D'Ambrosio, and she's from Australia, a bit like our regular Samara Gill, and she was amazing. She was amazing. So we were discussing first cousin marriages there. Anyway, find out the details by tuning in or carrying on watching after the 9 o'clock news. Now, let's go over now and talk to a real-life Afghanistan veteran, a man who was there, a man who fought there as part of our forces there, to find out what he thinks about what Donald Trump said about NATO forces, including Brits, including British soldiers, not quite going to the front line. A warm welcome to a friend of the show, Colonel Simon Diggins. Hello, Simon.
Kevin, good evening to you.
Well, you know, right off the bat, Donald Trump, well, you know the statistics. NATO forces were called to Afghanistan to help America, Clause 5 of the NATO Pact, and we did so. 457 Brits died altogether, more than 3,600 NATO soldiers died there, and Donald Trump said that NATO, he didn't specifically cite Britain, but NATO soldiers didn't quite go to the front line. As someone who was there, how do you feel about that?
Kevin, disgusted is the only way I can describe it. And it's not just, of course, the 450 soldiers who were killed. We took several thousand casualties, some of them with life-changing injuries. And I think all those who had suffered in Afghanistan have suffered either physical injury or the mental health anguish from it. And I think of their families as well. If you'd lost a loved one in Afghanistan, you know, for a cause which most people were behind, particularly in Afghanistan, and then effectively to have your son or daughter sacrificed, you know, trash talk by President Trump, I think is just completely shameful. I will say I've had contact from a number of American friends and colleagues who I'd worked with over the years, who wanted to make clear to myself, but obviously I think to British people generally, that what we heard from Trump does not represent their views about our sacrifice and our service. So I think that was very positive. There are some very good people in America, and they came forward, you know, completely voluntarily to me and just said, Simon, this is not how we think. And I was very touched by what they did.
And you were there, in effect, or as a matter of fact, our soldiers, British soldiers, soldiers from the NATO countries, you fought side by side with the Americans, didn't you?
Totally. I mean, the British particularly, they started in Mazar Sharif in the north, and then they moved down in 2006 down to Helmand, and that's where we had the majority of our effort there in the south, and we were joined alongside them in 2008-9 by the US Marine Corps, so operating completely side by side. And other parts of Afghanistan, exactly the same thing. Parts of Kabul were divided up, and there were British, French, Italian, soldiers all operating alongside each other. Completely integrated allied effort across the board. And what he said about us not being in the front line is absolute rubbish. I mean, there's not even a scintilla of truth in what he said.
Yeah, I mean, how do you lose Oh, hang on. What's that?
457.
Sorry, just lost you there for a second. How do you lose more than 3,600 soldiers if they weren't on the front line? Just doesn't make any sense. So just a quick last, thank you very much, by the way, Simon. And, you know, I don't say this enough, respect for your service and all your colleagues, your brothers in arms who are out there, and sisters, of course. What do you think about Prince Harry's intervention? He's issued a rather passionate statement along the lines of what you're saying, and I'm not lost in respect for Prince Harry. He's not my favourite person. I don't really respect him at all. But on this issue, I do respect him because he was there. He's talking about, you know, he said, I served there, I made lifelong friends there, and I lost friends there. That must be similar to the way you feel, and I respect Prince Harry on this because, like you, he was there. Do you agree with me?
No, I agree entirely with him, and you know, again, I think I probably share some of your scepticism about some of the things that Prince Harry gets himself up to. But on this one, I'm completely with him, and I'm very grateful that he's spoken out. It does raise an issue, which I think is not an important issue, that we need to think very carefully how we're going to handle President Trump, and the idea that His Majesty the King should go on a state visit to America this year without an apology, a very formal apology from President Trump, who has also incidentally, of course, been threatening another of His Majesty's dominions, Canada, is something that I think the government needs to think very hard about. It would be completely inappropriate for the King, the head of our armed forces, to go across and sort of schmooze with President Trump, while President Trump is making these kind of statements that are so insulting to British servicemen and veterans. So I hope the government thinks very hard about whether it's appropriate to advise His Majesty to go. Personally, at the moment, I think that visit should be called off.
I think I think of all the families, not only in Britain but around the NATO countries, who are still grieving for their loved ones.
Yeah.
And so on that basis, you seriously believe that President Trump should issue a formal apology for what he said?
An absolute formal apology. I mean, he can make any excuse he likes, saying he was ill-informed, he was ill-advised, but he now recognises that he made a terrible mistake and he wishes to formally apologise. And I think we should then that would make a bit of a difference to them. But I think without that formal apology, I think we need to think very hard whether it's right for His Majesty to go on a state visit to America that's planned for this year. Because I think for him to go into a country where he's received by the President, who's been so insulting about our service personnel and about their service and indeed their sacrifice, I think will just be completely wrong.
Simon, thank you so much for joining us. Colonel Simon Diggins. You know, again, you've got to respect him. You've got to respect Harry. These people were there. They lost friends, and there are families all over the world still grieving for their loved ones. So Simon Diggins, they're calling for, demanding that President Trump makes a formal apology for what he said, and also questioning whether if he doesn't, whether or not the King should make that.
It's a great point. I hadn't even considered it.
Okay, well, there you are. Well, we haven't got long left because it's been such a packed show. But let's go to the phones. Let's talk to you. Let's change tack, shall we? This is one of my favourite callers. She's Joan from Sunderland. And rather than talk about Donald Trump, and I'm glad she doesn't want to talk about Donald Trump, we've done that for most of the show, she wants to talk about this Christian march, a UKIP march for Jesus, that police in London have banned for fear that the local Muslim community might attack them. Hello, Joan. What do you feel about this?
Hello. Well, I'm a Christian and I'm quite miffed about it. I am sick of two-tier policing. Just think what happened in the West Midlands.
Well, we were saying that, Joan. You must have been listening. That's exactly what I said. I said there's a direct parallel here with what happened in Birmingham with the Maccabi Tel Aviv Jewish football fans. They were banned for this reason, because the local cops, West Midlands police, thought the Muslim community might attack them. So we've got the same thing here. The police should be enshrining, first of all, the rights of Jewish football fans to follow their team, and now in London, the rights of Christians and UKIP members to march for Jesus. They're not saying, oh my God, the Muslims might attack them, therefore we'll call it off. They shouldn't be doing this, should they?
No, but this is setting a precedence, because...
Well, I think the precedent's been set.
You're not allowed to walk in the West Midlands unless you're Muslim. Stay out. You can't do things in London. Stay out. Is this going to be the same in Manchester and in Leeds? Now, let's think about this. I'm a Christian. Now, they've already done it with the Jewish faith. Now they're doing it to Christians. When does this stop? And when are the police going to take control of the streets? Because we've seen mobs every Saturday for the last couple of years, and you can have one Jewish man standing there and he'll be the one that's been arrested.
Yeah, exactly right. It's two-tier policing, and it's, as usual, complete favouritism. It's subordination to the Muslim community. If they're offended, nobody else is allowed in. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. Joan, well said. Thank you very much for another excellent call. That's Joan in Sunderland. Same issue. This is Mandy in Felixstowe. Mandy, what would you like to say? Mandy? Hi.
Hello. I'm disgusted. I mean, what's Mum and Moo's already talking about with the police and everything?
Yeah.
We're going to end up with a Muslim, what's its name called, all through the country. We should have our say. I'm a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Why should our rights be ignored? It's been done by the government with the elections. It's now been ignored with the Muslims again.
I mean, this is once again the parallels between this ban and the ban in West Midlands on Jewish football fans are acute. This is the same thing. They've done it again. They're saying if we allow this march to go through Whitechapel, a very big Muslim area in East London, then the Muslim community will be upset and they might get violent. Well, the police's job is to say to the Muslim community, you're not allowed to get violent. That's against the law, and we will protect the rights of these marchers to go through Whitechapel. But they don't do that. They just kowtow to the Islamic community. Gotta stop. Now let's go down to Bournemouth and talk to Karen. She wants to talk about the migrants because, of course, the people of Crowborough are just getting used to the fact that something like 540 unknown foreign young men, asylum seekers, are about to be imposed on them. Now, Karen, you're in Bournemouth, and this rape we talked about earlier in the show happened in your town. I don't think it's the only one either. You've got 3 massive asylum seeker hotels in the middle of your once lovely town. How has that changed, Bournemouth?
It's getting ridiculous now. We've had 17 planning applications for HMOs to which people objected to, and they've just overridden them and just said, no, you got to take it. So, and also too, the English translation from what Shabana Mahmood said in her tweet is, oh good, that's 6,000 possible soldiers that we've avoided being able to train.
Yeah, because it's an army training camp in Crowborough. And apparently a lot of the local kids used to go to kind of an army cadet thing. It was a good hub of the community. That has all been destroyed. So, yes, we're not going to be training any potential soldiers there. And for God's sake, we need recruits to the army. The local kids will no longer be able to army cadet there. Instead, it's going to become this vast sort of camp for migrants, all of them men, by the way, Karen. And Shabana Mahmood tweeted, this is just the start, as if it was a good thing.
I know, well, that's the thing. This is a government-backed Islamist coup going on.
I think you're right, Karen. You could interpret it that. Well, put it this way: they are being kowtowed to far too much. Karen, good call. Got to move on because the show's nearly over. Always good to talk to you, though. Thanks for ringing. Call me again. Last call, Carl in Liverpool. Carl, hello, mate. You don't think that what Trump said about NATO troops not going to the front line was all that bad?
No, it's not that it wasn't bad. But he didn't say the UK, did he? I mean,
well, yeah, but by definition,
Kevin, he's factually wrong. You know, he is factually wrong on that, and it's a terrible thing what he said. But he didn't say the UK as bad as it.
Yeah, but the UK were there. You know, by saying NATO troops didn't go to the front line, he means us as well.
Yeah, I do. I agree in that sense. I just, you know, when it blows over, I think he owes an apology. That's what.
You agree with that? I mean, the way it's looking, Carl, I don't know what Pete thinks, but we just had Colonel Simon Diggins on, who served in Afghanistan, and he's demanding an apology, and he's talking about that maybe we should think about cancelling the King's state visit. And I suspect, Pete, that we might be progressing towards a point where maybe Donald Trump might have to apologise.
I was going to say, a letter from the King, who he respects an awful lot, might be a very powerful thing to get that apology that I think the nation wants. Whether we get it, I don't know, but I hadn't even considered the US visit and the aspect and the optics of that. But it's going to be, it is a sticking point, and I think Trump may have overplayed his hand on this one. But I do, I have to admit.
I know your general point, but yeah, Carl,
it's a good point.
Do you think Trump should issue an official apology?
I think he should, but if the King's going to get involved in anything, he should be getting involved with this Labour government to stop this IRA thing going ahead.
Well, the trouble is, the King's only a figurehead; he can't have anything to do with it. But that removal of immunity for our soldiers who served, did their duty in Northern Ireland is absolute disgusting disgrace. I can't believe that. Carl, mate, it's always good to talk to you. Thanks for an excellent call. Have a lovely weekend.